Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New Humanity Movement. This is Saeed David Farman. I'm the founder of the New Humanity Movement, NHM movement, and we are honored to have a interview with our leader, one of our leaders, Mr. Ryan Veli. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
Hi, David. I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Awesome. Thank you. It's a great time to be on the planet with all you guys and generate all this energy and bring the new hope for humanity. Let us put it this way, we are all new hope for humanity as we've been called upon this planet at this moment to move things forward in a human body and soul and spirit. So I welcome you, I honor you, and go ahead. You have a PowerPoint you want to show us, and we are watching. Go ahead. And this is a recording live, and our audience can go to later on can go to newhumanitymovement.com and follow us and join us as a member. New NEWHUMANITY. I'm sorry. Movement, MOVEMENT, newhumanitymovement.com, and or go to bizton.com, B as Barry, IZTON, bizton.com, our main portal. Mr. Vili, go ahead and start your program.
Excellent. Thank you, David, for the introduction. And I just wanted to give a bit of a backstory as to how this even came about. And obviously, there's going to be a page in the PowerPoint about the founder, so you're going to get to your inspiration, of course. But specifically in relation to myself, I had been to your Vegas convention. That was fantastic. And at the end of my lecture, it was pretty much a artificial intelligence awareness course, and I suppose the negative message at the end was kind of we're screwed, right? So David came back to me and said, Ryan, we like to leave with a high note. So can in the future, maybe the black pill is not the best solution. And he said, well, do you have solutions for these things? Can you focus on that? And of course, I've been working on these ideas for a long period of time. So and studying these areas and with very real awareness, situational awareness of what's going on, I knew that there had to be measures that were taken on the civilian side to harden ourselves against whatever this you want to call it is, the Great Reset, the Great Takeover, the Great Tyranny, whatever you want to call it. There are requirements for us to survive. So I'm aware of these things. So I said, you know what, David, I think that's a great idea. And then he started to explain to me what he was trying to set up through the New Humanity movement. And the idea is beautiful. And it is an idea that's time has come. And what we've been as a community for a very long period of time is bringing awareness to the masses about what's going on in the truth movement and what's going on in our governments and around the world. And there was a lot of pointing out, but not a lot of doing on our side. And unfortunately, so many of us are contained in this structure where we're waiting for somebody, or we're waiting for either a supernatural force or an extraterrestrial force or some hero to ride in and solve all of these problems that our complacency have caused. So if at any point in human history there has been a time for people to actually do something to protect themselves, their families, their communities, their countries, it's now. And the complacency that got us into this is not going to save us. And waiting for raptures or white hats or Santa Claus or whomever it is that we're convinced to wait for and do nothing, I don't think is a valid strategic solution for a surviving humanity. So this is why I specifically agreed and said, great, David, you know what? You started the ball rolling. Let's see if we can get some people who all see what's going on in the world in real time and are willing to take actions to protect themselves, their families, and their communities from this nightmare that's going on all around us. Now, unfortunately, some of these things, they are scary. And if there's a bunch of orcs charging your castle, and we're at the front gates telling you to prepare yourselves, saying that's negative-minded and generates fear is not constructive. Actually, waking up and acknowledging the threat and doing something about it is a more mature way to deal with threats, not just saying, oh, this is negative or this is positive, or I'm just going to think positive and everything's going to
So
be
Ryan,
okay.
what is
Yeah.
the threat? What is the threat?
Well, we see that it seems all governments in the early 90s have signed on a convention to reduce world's populations, and they're allowing themselves to do it and justifying different actions and wars and viruses or whatever to facilitate that treaty. That's why they're all allowing themselves to do it, each other to do it. They're not calling out human rights violations. Nobody is basically representing justice in our system these days. If there is, they're very small and contained kind of small pool kind of warriors, but definitely on a grander federal scale, we're having a lot of problems getting justice, truth, or any semblance of freedom. Now they're moving on this Restrict Act. And if you read through these things, we're not going to focus on that today. We really want to look at solutions, but definitely that's what we're up against. Now, if you want to coin that the Fourth Reich, the Great Reset, the New World Order, whatever it is you want to call it, it's the hyper-centralization of governments all around the world, reducing their populations and imposing and rolling out a techno-tyranny to control us from a very small central point of people who create money out of nothing, basically own everything now. That's why they're going to own everything, and they're going to be happy as hell. I don't know how we're going to be happy if we own nothing, but that's what they're selling. So that's all part of the same agenda. Well, you know, a recoined Agenda 2020 or Agenda 21 rather to Agenda 2030. It's the same thing, revamped like 2.0 basically. That's what we're up against. Aside
People
from whatever,
people
go
in
ahead.
Davos or CFR or China or Russia or Washington. Who are these people that, according to you, military grade decision makers? Or who
So
is the?
again, and this is I don't put out a popular view. I put out my analysis, and my analysis is it's top against bottom. There may be factions at the top that are fighting amongst themselves for overall dominance, but those that rule this world through money and through guns and through legal systems and through whatever kind of occult organizations, they've agreed to get rid of the people. And this is a top versus bottom conflict. So this is every country that's a major country that's decided to get rid of us. Now, who does that actually trace back to? This is a deep discussion I answer in more detail in my lectures, and it would be taking us very far off track if I get into too much detail there. But we know that there are central points of control out of Switzerland, and these organizations seem to revolve around Saturn worship and Black Sun and channeling extra dimensional entities and blood ritual and all of this type of behavior. So that, if you want a 30-second answer, that's what it is.
I understand. You go ahead with your PowerPoint. Yeah, go ahead.
Fantastic. So this is, again, a wonderful symbol of hope for a new humanity that's being birthed right now. No birth in the human realm is easy. So there's going to be pain and there's going to be stress and pressure put on human civilization. But if we're going to make it through and survive this birthing, we're going to have a process and maybe a strategy to do that. So the time is now because things are being burned down around us. Our dependencies as a nation, as a people, are being systematically annihilated and choked out. And those of us that prefer to stick our head in the sand and not stockpile food, not have, you know, metals as a backup for wealth and all of these things are going to be left very unprepared for what's coming, what they've written about in policy papers for the last 30 years. These are not fortune-telling type of you know, behaviors. This is actual strategic analysis and analysis of what these organizations and leaders have already said and continue to say. So we need a new structure to incubate the best qualities of humanity in order that we survive what's happening all around us. Now, again, the plan of our adversary is they have problem reaction solution where they're going to roll out a solution to the problems they create. But if we don't have an alternative to that, we're going to be sucked into that because there's going to be no force in opposition, no force that has a better idea or another strategy. We're just going to be sucked into it. And this isn't something you can't withstand the storm standing alone. One person is not capable of doing enough things to create a structure, a support system for human civilization. So this is going to require actual cooperation, and it's going to require members to get past some of the minor differences amongst us and focus on the major things that we have in common. So the mission statement, again, put simply, is to create new havens to incubate humanity's best qualities, ideas, and people in order to see the next iteration of civilization with the highest possible knowledge and capabilities. We have developed a lot technologically. We have a lot of knowledge, although improperly applied in many cases. We do have a lot of knowledge as a civilization. We need to incubate that and not lose the truths that are scattered throughout the BS. We need to incubate the things that work. We need to learn from the communities that were capable of surviving world wars, that were capable, like, let's say, the Amish or monasteries or these organizations that have a particular structure that help them survive with a particular way of living. That's a good thing. And that's the kind of diversity we should espouse to have is, yes, all of these communities working together, and they can all be different, but they all have similar overall objectives and values. At this time in human civilization, all who wish to create a positive future will be required by circumstance to live, work, and manifest together in communities of choice. The strategy will ensure the highest possible probability of individual survival and collective evolution to the next stage of conscious development on this planet. So as I said, all of us independently living alone that have an idea about what's coming and are willing to take steps to protect ourselves and defend our nations, communities, and families. If we don't work together, it's really much like blades of grass or threads in a bamboo. One alone is not strong, but it's really we get our power at this layer from working together and surviving together. So,
Ryan,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen on Facebook, we are live on Facebook. We are with Mr. Ryan Veli. This is New Humanity Movement, Saeed David Farman, and we are speaking with Ryan Veli, our leader, one of our leaders of New Humanity Movement. You can check our website, newhumanitymovement.com. And Ryan is explaining all about the forthcoming and all this stuff in the background, their operations they're doing. And he's a ex-military intelligence and a lot of other things. You can read his bio on our website, newhumanitymovement.com or bizton.com, BIZTON, our main portal. And but Ryan, I had a question. What are we going to do with big pharma, big corporations, big oil cartel, big governments who don't want anything other than their way of, we don't want to name those corporations,
So,
but
yeah, no, I understand the question. And basically, how can we survive and thrive in an environment that's hostile to us from a top-down perspective? And the answer to that is sheriffs, constitutional sheriffs. So we will need communities and areas where there is some degree of parity of value system and constitutional law, and protecting civilians from federal overreach should be hopefully a feeling that's shared by the law enforcement in the area. So if you could find communities like that, those are ideal. Every kind of box you check that goes against a certain list of ideals, it decreases your likelihood of prosperity. So what we want to do is we want to build a matrix. And again, this is one of the projects within our structure, is to create basically a checklist for those that do want to relocate, where they can look at things, people who may not be as analytical or strategic as some of our experts are, and can look at a place to live and go through a series of checklists and say, okay, let's evaluate the friendliness or hostility of the local environment, and that goes down to the sheriffs. The sheriffs are supposed to be a very powerful position, and since there's now a whole national movement of constitutional sheriffs, we can identify them and hopefully work with some of them to pick peaceful and order-based, law-based, real law, not this force of law, whatever it is they're playing with. Constitutional law that protects us from, being wacoed or whatnot. So you're right, we do have an adversary, but luckily the adversary is inflating and is getting so fat that this parasite is on the verge of hopefully eating itself. So if you wanted a positive potential timeline for what's happening, the control structure doesn't subjugate and destroy humanity. Instead, it destroys itself based on its very nature of overconsumption, a complete lack of moral conviction in any way, shape, or form, well, eventually they turn on each other and they're going to play each other off with the same rules they play each other with. So hopefully that'll take down a lot of this structure. But so that's the quick answer. So getting back to the cycles, and it's important now because a lot of us have been kind of tainted by the 2012 kind of hootenanny. Now, obviously, there's a few years that, who knows what the actual timeline is. But I think looking around you without having to go to, this being the end of the Kali Yuga or any of these cycles, you can see what's going on around us every single day if you're paying attention. And I assume that our audience is not going to be the sleeping sheep type. It's going to be people who see what's going on and are either recently awakened or have been for a long time and are just sitting back smoking one saying, yep, saw it coming 30 years now, So, but we do have these cycles and everything, it's not linear. We go through these cycles and there's an oscillation and a cycle even between generations, which is what we're talking about in the fourth turning. But you can look that up. Again, the PowerPoint, it's on the video, so you'll see this. You could do a little extra research. But I think what's more important is this proton cloud that we've entered, the recent acknowledgement that the Earth's inner core has stopped spinning, and that, these are things that I think imply a non-human influence behind this push for total takeover. So, there are people like Suspicious Observer. He's fantastic. He covers the solar cycle, cosmic cycle, galactic super waves, plasma events, and all that stuff and its impact on human civilization. So in addition to this push from this dark agenda to eliminate people and take control, we also have the possibility that there will be, global events that we have to survive. So that's not a pessimist. This happens in human civilization. And if anything, we should be more prepared and better prepared now in our more modern civilization than other cultures were. So, I have good hope that if we actually take action and prepare like the military prepares in their bunkers.
Yeah, like Dr. Alan Miller was teaching Navy people how to survive 30 days on your own, planting food and survival stuff.
That's right.
We want
And
to
I'm
bring
glad you
into our
brought him up
conference in
because
Vegas. Go
Dr.
ahead.
Richard Allen Miller is going to be participating with us, and this is a man who's been in it since the 60s, a super genius with all kinds of solutions. And we are going to be announcing some of the people that are going to be working with New Humanity Movement soon, but we're going to do it in a more intelligent way. So we're going to have interviews with them, and then we'll get into what they do. But yes, he is participating, and he's worked in some very heavy-duty projects and has a lot of brain power there to back us up. So not going through all of these details, but I think we all at this point in our community know what the problem is. You could start at 9/11, or you could start at the banking takeover in the turn of the century. Wherever you want to start, humanity has been in a track towards not a positive human future unless we actually do something. So that, I think we're just going to leave that there we're basically already all there. So let's look at what worked in human civilization in the last recent period. First of all, you don't get civilization without family. So there's a reason that this agenda has been attacking families and family units and facilitating this type of situation where children are not defended, they're not properly taught. One generation is removed from the next, so the wisdom does not propagate down to the next generation, which is what's supposed to happen, which is why old people repeat themselves over and over, because they're supposed to be around their offspring and they're supposed to be sharing that important information before they continue on their journey. And this is what's supposed to bring communities together. You don't get communities, a bunch of single people. That's a rabble. You get communities from families and bigger families, extended families, working together with other families, and that's how you build community. And that ensures that everybody is 100% in, and that there's no, secret plan or undermining. We'll get into that later. And that's what builds strong nations.
Is
So
it
if we don't,
a problem with our education? Like Elon Musk created his own schooling for his kids with 20 children, a private school. Is it they're teaching stuff at the school that it's obnoxious? Like you don't have to listen to your parents, and they're teaching them about transhumanism sexuality upside down. You can be any gender you want to be. Things that kids are confused already with the TV and all the games they play. They show them wrong stuff, or Disney or Mickey Mouse
So
and many.
the Build Back Better plan applies to human psyche as well. What they like to do is they like to dissolve existing connections we have and thought processes. And that's why they did this whole 2 year break the pattern of people being allowed out of their house and these shock events. It creates an environment where they can replace those old dissolved structures with new structures that they have planned. So we're in the process of dissolution. So this is a softening process of the structure of the nation that's been going on since at least the 60s, but probably since the bankers took over and beyond. Depends how far back you want to go and analyze in history. So it's been a long running process where the structure and fiber of human civilization has been eroded and dissolved to a point where we have literal federal judges saying that they don't know the difference between a male and a female. I mean, if this isn't Orwellian 1984 doublespeak nonsense, I don't know what is. This is absolutely what they're doing, is trying to just eat away at every fabric that holds our society together. And in doing so, they'll dissolve it, create an environment of total and absolute chaos, and then roll out their solutions. Again, if you study chaos theory, there's a science to this. You take a stable system, as you start to integrate chaos into it, you get to a total chaotic state. But even in the totally chaotic state, you have what are called strange attractors, which are points of power, whether you want to say that can be an individual, a community, or whatever, that brings structure and order to everything around them, like the center of a hurricane. And when that system goes from the totally chaotic state, it starts to bring order again, and it happens through these strange attractors. So what they're setting up is they're setting up negative, dark, strange attractors with their CBDCs, their euthanasia, they're all this madness, genocide agenda, and they're trying to set that up as the only place we have to go once they've created enough chaos to suck us in. So if we don't have counter points from them, everybody gets sucked into their structure that they're planning. So literally, we have to be the strength in the storm, and we have to bring order out of the chaos they're creating that we know is coming. And there is a way to do that. Okay. So again, looking back at what works for human civilization, human rights. Now, if we're not doing it for human rights, why are we doing anything? What, for our slave masters? If it isn't about truth, justice, and freedom for all, then it's about nothing. So things like the Magna Carta were great. The US Constitution, there's a debate to whether this just indebted us to, again, the London establishment, which is very possible and looks that way. However, the doctrine within the Constitution is valuable and sets forward a framework that the federal government cannot infringe on, even though today they flagrantly violate this. And again, they say it's just a useless piece of paper, was what one of the ex-presidents said. So cooperative communities have succeeded. How did they succeed? Well, the Amish. So one of the things, though, when we look at these communities and we analyze them and see what worked, what didn't, we have to see what was the glue that brought them together. So that was a religious organization, and they have a religious bent to it. But the way that they cooperate and operate as a community is very admirable, which is why I think they were targeting Ohio to damage the lands of these poor people. And they're doing ridiculous things like raiding the Amish. I really think that every single last one of us needs to stand and protect the Amish. They're like some of the best of us. We need to protect them, not let the establishment squash them out. And then I evaluated hippie communes and looked at what happened to many of them. And there are still some that exist. So I'm going to look at that in a slide coming up. And again, they came together with some actual shared values. That was a diametric opposition to the structure they were facing that they wanted out of. So there's a lot of good values there that they had, but there's also a lot of mistakes that they made. And we're going to cover that, and we'll look at that. Then monasteries, again, coming together for a religious bent, but actually operating in a very smooth way, producing product. So, these were the monks pump out great stuff. They make cheese, they make this, they make wines, all these different things. So they didn't just study. They took care of nature, and they also produced a product, which is an important thing. And
So
I have
Ryan,
to say, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Ryan, what's the best scenario? We buy land and create 100 people communities, around the countries?
There are multiple models, which I'm going to get into, but to answer your question in a quicker way, yes, the solution is to have a policy, a strategy, a document that we and others can use to build themselves away from this chaos and to insulate themselves against this. Now, there's different forms that can take, and I have 3 different models to look at. It can go anywhere from a family farm where you just have your extended family working at it, to literally a small town of like-minded individuals that are building. There's no limit. It's really about how you go about building these cells. But just like a human body, we're made up of many organs, many arteries, many structures, many cells, and we build communities in the same way. So first we start off with healthy stem cells where we have to do a lot. The smaller we are, the more we have to do. As we grow, we could separate things out where we don't all have to have goats. We can have a few of us that have goats and a few of us that focus on, let's say, chickens or whatever, or whatever kind of product
Or
that's using,
technology or
or
whatever.
technology, correct, right? But the smaller we are, the more we have to do. The bigger we get, the more we can share the load and integrate more complexity to our system. So then you look at, and I have to talk about the military because it was extremely important and informative for me. It teaches great discipline. Now, obviously, I would never recommend the military today, unfortunately, because it would be nice if we had good people in there. The problem is that they can be easily contained. As long as you agree to follow a structure where you just follow orders, you could easily be contained, even if you're a person of good intention and goodwill. So that's the problem with that. And the forced vaccines and all that insanity going on right now. So I don't recommend that to people, but I have to say that the way they train and the way they build discipline, especially for people who have not had that in their life history, it is an incredible thing to build character. So we can learn something from that, and we can learn discipline, hard work from the military. Literally, we had a saying, the military does more by 9 a.m. than most people do all day. That's right. And we're not going to survive building communities of video game playing losers who sit on couches and watch TV and think that everybody else in the community is going to take care of them. We build communities by hard people willing to do the hard work to build, because building is hard. And if you're not into building, then you're not into surviving. So if you want to sit on the couch, then you know what? Go get your vax and see where that goes. But we need to look at a real, more serious method and model for that. So then again, small communities worked out great. We look at different communities within the United States that have communal cohesion and shared goals and a desire to keep their communities clean and safe. And that is a great model that we could look at, as well as the kibbutz in Israel, which were really incredible communities that they took sand and they made these beautiful farms. And they have a lot of techniques they were using, like they have a much higher concentration of boron in their soil. I think they go up to 7%, and that's anti-pathogenic, and most soil everywhere else goes up to like 1.74%, and these guys know to put 7%. So that's incredible. There's a lot of things that we could learn from those people as well. And then the values of freedom, cooperation, discipline, productivity. And again, we need to set, and not to have any religious dogma, but we need to respect and aspire people who travel a path of higher consciousness. And if that's what we need to look up to. And why do I say that separately? Because one of the things you asked about, Saeed, was why are our kids so screwed up and why is our society so messed up? Because the idols that they place in front of you misbehave and set you up subconsciously and your kids up subconsciously to misbehave and live a life of insanity in the future. So if we want to change our structure, we need to start looking up to the right people and to set those people up as our leaders and heroes, not the degeneration that we have. Basically, if you're greedy and ruthless enough and you amass enough wealth, we look up to you. Are you crazy? Or if you're famous because you acted in a movie, we look up to you. Are you crazy? Those are not values to look up to. That's looking up to dysfunction. Like if we went into an insane asylum and people in the padded room in a straitjacket said, "Wow, you're great. Let's look up to you. You're my idol." We're doing something very similar to that.
Yeah.
And free markets work. Free markets, we don't need all these regulators. We don't need this entire monetary structure. There is a way to do this where all of that is gone and the structure of a bank is separated and there's different functions. There's a vault, there's the exchange, there's, other things. But free markets work when they're not being manipulated.
So
Unfortunately, up to now,
my apology, do we need to create our own financing and money and banking
so
or what?
we have the answer to this, and I'm going to get into gold backs and different ways that we could pivot to. Soon as you use the mark of the devil or the beast or this Babylonian money magic garbage, you're going to be sucked into their system. So I think we have to completely 100% detach monetarily from that. Is the most important connection, the most important string that the puppet masters have on us is that we have to use their money. We need to stop using their money as soon as possible. So if that means within our communities and within our friendly organizations, we exchange in metals, whatever. There's crypto options. There's this again gold back. We're going to look at. That's a great idea where they infuse a certain amount of gold or any metal, could be platinum, could be silver, into each note. So if you have 10 notes of this particular bullion, you have a certain amount of gold in that actual note that has melt value. Now that's phenomenally brilliant. Okay, and that can solve a lot of our problems where we can all agree that metals have value, gold, silver, platinum, that crypto has a certain value if it's linked to something. And these money masters who create money out of thin air, give it to their pals and buy up all the real things in the world and then raise the interest rates and suck in all the wealth back to them again. Well, we don't need them. And if we play in their game, we're always going to lose. It's their chessboard. They produce the pieces, they run the board, they produce the seat you're sitting on. If we don't get away from that and establish real free markets, then we're toast.
Yeah,
Healthy water
and
is.
we are an international network of communities. It's not just U.S., Canada, or you name
Correct.
it, or South
And
America,
that's the other thing, is there has to
or
be an
Europe,
intelligence part of this where we identify other like-minded communities and establish connections, networks, and support agreements, just
and
like any other treaty.
other
Other
groups, you know.
groups, absolutely. And one of them I've identified, again, I have a list, but Sasha Stone, I just came across his idea for his community he's working on in South America. Again, another great initiative, and we'd love to, cooperate and work with other like-minded organizations. Because folks, this isn't about any person, any one thing. It's about human civilization surviving as it is, with the beautiful things that makes humanity beautiful continuing, and the
Yeah, those
treachery and
exactly.
horror is dissolved, not the other way around.
Those of you who would like to contact us, go to newhumanitymovement.com and just join us. There's a form, there's an email there, info@newhumanitymovement.com, and there's a phone number. You can reach us, all kind of contact info, and you name it. Ryan is available. I'm available. We are taking more leaders in and members. We just announced officially the New Humanity Movement in our last event in Los Angeles, Biomed Expo, and we are taking the members. The membership is $30 a month, which will help us to organize this movement around the world and in US, in the smaller communities. And even Ryan, if people don't want to move to a community, let's say they're still in their cities and apartments or houses, so how they can join us? So what's the
Well,
benefit for them?
again, I realize that not everybody can drop and take off to a compound or a new farm, right? But what you can do is you can establish the relationship with the organization where doors will be open for you if you do need to go get yourself a camper and to get out of town when they roll out their CBDCs and 15-minute prisons and you want to split. Well, if you're a member, then we're going to take you first on our if we can get this up in time, because this is a time game. They are pushing very quickly.
5 minutes
But
to midnight, right? 5 minutes to midnight.
it's 5 seconds. You got it. So definitely at every level, and just what we're going to offer, and I'll get to the benefits in a second, but let me just jump back to this. What also works, and when I had to clean myself up, one of the most critical components was clean water. So you need minerals, you need RO. There's different uses for waters. There's structured water, and all of these things are of critical importance. Having access to clean water on your land, wherever you decide to live, or wherever you decide to bunker down. If you don't have a plan for water, you don't have a plan. Cleaning the soil in your environment, wherever it is, you have to stand your ground. There's ways to clean your soil and create compost teas. then can use helpful bacteria and fungi to clean up toxicity. There's all kinds of methods we use that, again, biochar. We use plants that will suck toxicity out of the land and clean the food over the land over time. But you need to work on and think of your soil as what supports you. If you treat your soil like when you're dumping chemicals on it, this goes back in your food chain if that's what you're going to be depending on to grow and to provide food for your family. So this, again, and access to food, obviously up north, we have an issue where we can't pump out food all year and greenhouses require a lot of energy. So that has to have a different plan versus somewhere in Southern California that can, have a greenhouse relatively easily and etc. But obviously having access to food, clean water, also clearing our thoughts. And as you clean up what you're consuming, what you're eating, what you're drinking, you're going to see that your fluidity of thought will be there and your focus will be there and you'll start to think less negativity. I know when I've drank and had alcohol or eaten a lot of fast foods, you get a negative loop of thought patterns. And once you don't have that toxicity in you, it goes away. So trying to maintain positive thoughts, not ignorant, delusional thoughts, not unrealistic gibberish, but positive thoughts. Meaning, even if you're facing a tidal wave, grab a tree, try to survive. No matter what it is, like fight to the last breath. And then
You
expression.
mentioned food. Most of their the cabal control is with the food, GMO food,
Now they're
fluoride.
injecting mRNA into animals starting this month. So that is an absolute nightmare. China has recently announced that they can put mRNA vaccines in milk, so they could be poisoning our milk. This is absolutely apocalyptic, and it's nuts. It's so nuts
And
that.
fluoridated water and you name
So
it,
again, yeah, they just
chemtrails.
had to sue to get the government to come out and admit that they know that fluoride is completely toxic, and it was that lunatic in charge of the HHS that was, concealing this government study. We now have to sue our governments to get studies that they do. But yes, they all know fluoride is extremely toxic, corrosive acid, like the third most corrosive toxic acid in the world. And the calcium that's positive for us is rather the fluoride that's positive for us is calcium fluoride, which it has a small amount of fluoride bound to calcium molecules, which makes it a different thing. And the refined fluoride we get is straight up an acid, a toxin, and anyway, it's in all kinds of stuff. But yes, you're absolutely right on that as well. And then just expressions and behaviors. When we build a community, we don't want to be hard on everyone and ourselves. We want to try and maintain an atmosphere of positivity, even in the face of darkness, even in the face of the worst things that we could have imagined happening around us. We have to keep it together, not just for ourselves, for human civilization to survive with the positive traits that we want to see in the future. So we're
So
doing it for that.
looking at the nightmares, we got a issue of nuclear wars, World War III, asteroid hitting the Earth. We got multiple fronts of different calamities and earthquakes and hurricanes and weather modifications or HARP or you name it. So it's all has to. It's speeding up. This year we had multiple problems. And for example, in California, we had 9 feet of snow suddenly
Insane.
burying houses, or in other countries or places, we had different stuff going on. So you go
And my
ahead and
concern on that, David, is that they've been controlling the weather for decades. It's a doable thing. Now they're coming out and admitting, Geo Engineering or whatever they've coined it. But they've stopped rain from getting to the U.S. West Coast for a long period of time by doing tricks with high pressure systems sitting outside and blocking the precipitation. Now, once they've sufficiently dried out California, they're dumping a whole bunch of water on it. And the problem is that there's a lot of weight with that. And it's great that California got some precipitation. The reservoirs are filling up. It's horribly unfortunate these poor people got buried and all kinds of flooding, damaging farmlands. And California, I think, is like produces a third or something of the US's actual food. which is huge. So damaging that is a big threat to the United States. So the problem is also that they're on a fault line. So is that water going to lubricate, affect? Is the weight going to affect any potential earthquakes? And why all of a sudden did they allow this much precipitation through? When you consider this is our weather is predominantly an orchestrated thing run by technology that we've had for 30 years. Why now are they drenching California? That's the question. That's what worries me. And because I don't think there's any good guys in charge, I'm very sad that that could be a possible earthquake in California's future. What I had read by seismologists was that it could result in something within the next 6 months. So if we pass that 6-month window, hopefully it'll just be nothing. But anyway, not to purvey fear, but to be real about what's going on. So then technology and service to humanity and the planet. We can't just go back to the caveman age where we have no technology at all. Even if we're scared of AI, and even we have to maintain some degree of technology, and we have to be resistant to EMF. So if we get hit with any kind of an EMP, we have to harden some of that stuff, and that has to be part of every plan. Because if that does happen, either human generated or not, and we lose our technology, that's going to really suck. And it will affect communication. It will affect our ability to research. It'll affect everything. So maintaining technology that's in service to humanity and the planet, and that's how you know if the tech is good or bad. Ask how is it serving man, or ask how is it controlling man. And again, mankind, woman, humanity, whatever you want to call it, not to be gender stereotypical, but it's just a positive thing. Human civilization, mankind, doesn't make a difference to me, but not to offend. Then human innovation. So one of the things that's been kind of stagnated in the last period, and the reason is patents. So the royals have a lock on the patents, and as soon as there's a patent that they don't like coming out, they either you get the lead or the gold. So you get offered the money, or you die, or you end up being sued out of existence, and they take you to patent court. So whatever you've created becomes hijacked, and that's why we have 3,000 patents that are now off limits or more for human civilization, even though it's human innovation that has created those solutions, generating free power, cleaning water, HHO technology, all these phenomenal things that are being blocked at the federal level from helping us. Well, we can't allow that to happen. So if we have to do open source, whatever it is we have to do, we can't allow human innovation to be gobbled up and sucked in by these lunatics that run the planet. We have to actually deploy our own technology and share it amongst ourselves. And that means we have to keep human innovation. We have to encourage that in our communities and amongst our people. So here we have the New Haven models. So first of all, again, it has to be a family-friendly structure. If not, we have no staying power. This is the base structure. A family that produces children who share the same values, who share a certain level of discipline, and maintain the structure. If you don't have that, what do you have exactly? So again, it doesn't mean everybody participating has to have a family, but the idea is that the structure is friendly to family structures and not hostile like our civilization is. So communities of choice and include either communal living, independent cooperatives, or loose affiliations, each of which we're going to look at in their own slide. And then there has to be a degree of manufacturing. We have to be producing something. So we have to be producing food. We have to be producing something to survive. Otherwise, what is the point? The idea is not to be dependent and controlled by a system. It's to be independent and not controlled by a system like this. So in order to do that, we have to be productive. We have to produce food. We have to produce some kind of a product, service, or benefit to our community. Otherwise, again, what's the point? You know. So then that could lead to future towns, cities, etc. Once we have a structure for building these types of cells, groups, communities, havens, whatever you want to call them, we start to group together and a bigger structure forms and more capability arises out of that cooperation. So the communal model, purpose-built property with multiple participants sharing space and minimizing individual overhead. A product is being produced, profits are fairly distributed and reinvested in development. So this whole billionaire model where the greedy of us and most ruthless survive and get everything is not a successful model. So we need to recoin that. Prosperity is a great thing. Succeeding is a great thing. But succeeding, enslaving, or growing on the backs of slaves is not. So we are not designing communities where there are people that are paid 3,000 times the lowest person. That's an unacceptable ratio and leads to a lot of hostility and trouble within communities. When everybody can live and survive and put food on their table, you have a safe, healthy structure. And as soon as you get away from that, you have all kinds of leeching from the system and expectation and all this. That's very negative for future civilizations. So clear job roles are established and all participate within their capabilities for shared goals. Another mistake that I saw was saying that, okay, everybody has to garden. Well, you know what? Some people have knee problems or back problems, or they're old and they're not really able to garden. Other people in their 90s are able to garden and go out there and do some manual labor. So people have to accept that there are different kinds of cells in the body. And when something's heavy that needs to be lifted, I do it. I don't ask my 90-year-old granny to do that. So we have to be realistic about capabilities and roles. And we have to match people and help people find, things within their capability level and still be productive and participate in society for the smartest and the least capable. A minimum, but everybody's doing something. The idea that there's people doing nothing, that doesn't work. Maybe when you're old and broken, there's a reason, but not just young, capable people sitting around doing nothing. This is super toxic to any civilization, leads to nothing but evil. A
And
minimum
we
standard
got
of
we got millions and millions and millions of young kids that all sitting
yeah,
on their back and
yeah,
playing with
fueling
the.
fueling video games and all this negative stuff and creating a totally dark future. And
And
we
we
don't,
just did an event in Los Angeles. All the young people were doped and hopeless. They don't want to look at any future. They just want to be doped and happy for
right.
the day and where they are at, and don't want to worry about anything. This is not what we were younger. We were not like that. We were on a different bandwagon, and these young kids, they we call them, what do we call them, millenniums, or we call
Millennials,
them
yes,
the
they're
gamers, and
soft.
yeah, and got a bunch of names, and
Yeah,
they got no hope for anything. They got no plan. They got
I
no
think what's going to
vision.
cure them, they do need to be inspired. They are a very uninspired bunch, and they do waste a lot of time with hand to mouth type of whatever quenches their immediate desire is what they go to next. And when they lose access to it, they lose their minds. They
Yeah,
believe in
and
safe
they're
spaces and happy faces for marks and this type of
hamburger
gibberish that's
kids
not
and
realistic.
fast fooders, hamburger kids and fast fooders, and can they eat canned food and they
Mhm.
run around and do whatever they want, and nothing wrong with any of these, but at the end of the day, the plan
Yeah,
to
that doesn't build civilizations.
right,
That's kind of it's spineless and it's kind of Play-Doh-y, but it is not a solid foundation to build a structure or a future for human civilization. Now, do
right,
I think they're all lost? Absolutely not. I think they just haven't been shown. They haven't been, if you haven't been exposed to what freedom and what values actually are, and you've never seen it in your whole life, and you've been exposed to nothing but government propaganda schools, yeah, you're probably going to have a pretty negative, pessimistic. You're going to be like, okay, I'm going to go play video games because that's way better than this idiocy I'm being told. And you're supposed to work until you're 65 and then hope that the government still has a pension for you. The whole model to millenniums looks dumb. So I can see how they don't
and
want to get into it.
they
Also, entering and
they
the fact that real estate is so overpriced, how demoralizing for a younger person to look at the cost of real estate and say, well, I would need 10 of me to afford one house. You know what I mean? Like, I get it.
under heavy loans and grants. I mean, loans they give them for education, they have to pay the
Yeah,
rest of the life,
right.
and under
For a
uh,
degree that gets you what? Unless you did a hard science and you're actually applying your knowledge to something and you just got something hokey soft that doesn't actually lead to any tangible skill, then you wasted your money and you have a couple letters on your CV, but you don't have any skills. And that's why they end up back in technical programs and things like that if they're motivated enough where they just give up and work in a bookstore or pump gas
so
or
we are
something. And
we are
not to disparage
under.
those people, the salt of the earth, you could be fantastic spiritually and still be pumping gas. But it's just not necessarily a job
So
that will,
we are under
support a
fake
family.
education,
Yeah,
fake food, and fake banking, fake money, and fake all this
got it.
stuff. Just the some
Fake
kind of
heroes.
a model they put together at some corporation to shove
Yeah,
it up our throats, and they say this is it. You don't want it. That's it. You
right,
either have cheeseburger or regular burger. There's only two
right.
kinds. You
You like chocolate or vanilla? You
yeah,
like
exactly.
pistachio?
You
We
got
shoot
paper
you in
or
the head.
plastic, paper or plastic, and the planet is still working on plastic. They got
I
no
know.
alternative. They
I
don't
know,
have
and we
food.
have hemp solutions for that. There's all kinds of great things we could be using. Bamboo, hemp, these things grow every season, and that could replace all the pulp and paper, all the plastics, all kinds of things. The solutions are right under our noses. We're just being told that there's no solution there or that that's, idiocy, but the solutions are all out there. So getting back to, so what I have up here is Sunburst Farms, which was a hippie commune that actually produced a product that actually didn't sell out and still survived. So it was an interesting case study that I think we could learn from. And
Are they still in business, and what cities they're in?
there's their website. I forget, it's near LA. It's very close to you. I think it's a little west of LA, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken,
sometimes I
like
go different
northwest.
community markets, and
Yeah.
they have good fruits and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So now one of the weaknesses, it really revolved around one character. And I think that's a model we have to stay away from, especially when you're breaking away from the structure. You can't have one person that's a focal point or leader where if that person is corrupted, poisoned, exploded, drone strike, sucked up in a hurricane, has turbulence, commits suicide by hanging themselves and shooting them 5 times in the back of the head. However it is, if that person disappears, that the whole structure doesn't go. So that's why it's important to pump out information, share it amongst each other, and so that everybody's replaceable.
And they
For that
made
reason, it's a survival strategy.
the organic food so expensive, so you're forced to eat the
Crap.
GMO food and
Yep,
crap, and changes your whole DNA and
it does.
infrastructure of your brain and your
Your
thought
gut
forms.
biome changes your gut biome. Your gut biome affects your thoughts. They were working on bacteria to put in Big Macs that once it seeds your gut, craves out for Big Macs. So literally, you have gut bacteria that you got from Big Macs that's in your gut, calling out and sending messages to your brain for Big Macs. Folks, it's Franken food. This structure is satanic, and we have to remove ourselves from it in every direction. This is just a small little caption. I could talk about any one of these points for hours. There's so much information out there. This is the age of disclosure. This is revelations. So independent cooperatives, individually owned homesteads in a common area participating in symbiotic growth activities focused on cooperative food production, education, defense, and preparations. Similar in philosophy to the Amish communities, where the collective succeeds by considering individual success a community priority, best characterized by the term cooperative. Commerce and trade are encouraged between homesteads. A common code of ethics, productivity, and goodwill are required. And, if we're not going to be a religious fundamentalist cult, manufacturing facilities possible and provide employment. So here we go. So now let's say we just group together. Everybody has their own house, has their own property. We're just of like mind, working together, doing commerce together, and supporting each other through hardships, because that's what we're going to be facing as a nation. So this is the, again, community model where we're just like an Amish community, but there's still fences. Okay. Good fences make good neighbors. So again, and that's people who want to live like that or work around. You may have one that's more of a communal environment, one that's independent co-ops, but we're all in the same area so that we can cooperate together. And when somebody finds themselves in hardships, not because of crack, gambling, or misuse, but if somebody's farm burns down due to a misfeasance, instead of having insurance companies and all of these rackets, we help that neighbor as a community, and we give one day out of the month to go and help somebody else who's seeing hardship. That's a tangible welfare. That's real charity. Putting your time, not giving it to charity organizations that embezzle 97% and give 3% to the homeless or whatever. That's just making you feel good to give to them, but it's not actually doing anything good. But when you get your hands in there and you actually participate in your community and you help your neighbors, Now you've invested in your community. You didn't just throw money away to,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
scammers. So, but it all has to revolve around producing something. So the idea that we can just live and not produce or service or do anything of positive, that is not any part of this community. Everybody has to be or should be in some way helpful participant and produce something. When you have a nation, a country, a town, a community like that, you can't help but succeed because you're all producing stuff. And once you get enough stuff, you can share and exchange with a community in Jamaica and you get your mangoes or whatever it is, we can build from there. But if we're all sitting around producing nothing, serving nothing, then obviously what do you think is going to result from that? It doesn't take a genius. So affiliations, loose affiliation groups, networks, or entities that share a common alignment with the NHM, but are independent of the organization. Sharing of data, technology, and products are encouraged to support positive pro-human, pro-family structures. The support of other groups is a key factor for overall success of the NHM initiative. Member commercial affiliation, those within the NHM who offer discounts to other members. So, okay, so starting at the bottom there. So what if our current members already have products and businesses? Great. So let's do commerce and share. Let's have a network for that. Okay,
Exactly.
just wherever you are, let's do commerce together. Let's set up networks where we
Yeah.
can share and
Networks
gather,
that
right?
they can trade with each other, buy and
On
sell
their own
and
terms, on their
on
own
their own.
terms, free market. And
Right.
then all these other groups, like I mentioned, Sasha Stone had a very interesting one, but there's others out there that may, let's say, we're not opposed to dealing with, you know, a Christian-based community or the Amish or a Muslim-based community. It doesn't matter as long as they share values of human prosperity and are not trying to actively murder, harm, or anything like this, right? So we need to work with other organizations, other groups of people, and not be completely closed-minded. So in other words, you think a body succeeds if your kidney cells are angry at your liver cells are angry at your neurons are angry at your stem cells. No, we all have to cooperate together as the body of humanity. We don't all share the same religion, we don't share the same customs, but we have to share the same respect and values of truth, justice, and freedom. And if we don't have that, then we don't have a body. And then it is chaos, and we all just do fight it out. And
Right.
whoever's left is gonna make the rules. So
Everybody listening to this, they're responsible for their own family, their own well-being, their own future, their country's future, their humanity's future. They need to take initiative. The initiative they should take is now. Either they create their own communities or join us, New Humanity Movement, newhumanitymovement.com, and be a member. We exponentially creating communities very fast around the world. We would need land, money, people, products, you name it, facilities. We need groups to join us and join each other. This is a time, if you don't move fast, you all will disappear under one flag of transhumanism, and they will change your DNA to a hybrid faction that it will be totally out of whack next 20 years. So you choose which direction you're going now and protect your kids and your family and your own future. There's nothing else
right
in
on.
this equation to tell you. It's very forward, straightforward. We've been researching this for 40 years, and this is the best we came up. And Ryan is a ex military intelligence, and they're all looking for solutions for the havoc upon this planet from all different scenarios, from asteroids and aliens. 4 or 5 alien groups are against us, hundreds are for us, and we are going to space and other planets very soon, or we are already in with a bunch of governments. So we have to also be prepared how to face the extraterrestrials and negotiate and trade with them and live in different planets as we speak. So it's so much involved. That's why we do ET disclosure and ET studies. So that's the main benefactor of our future. That
And
we
back to the Reagan quote, where if humanity knew what we were up against, they would cooperate a lot more and see a lot less of our differences. And that is absolutely true. We are up against extraterrestrial races and extraterrestrial influences, as well as whatever extra dimensional threats we want to talk about. But if humanity doesn't stick together and build together, then we're going to be gobbled up by something, as Saeed exactly said. So that's what we're doing. You want solutions? We have the solutions. We need the army. We need the people. We need the people to cooperate. And that has to revolve around productivity. So that's why at the center of this model, when we're looking at how do we build a structure, you have to have a product. You have to be producing something. You have to provide a service. So around and surrounding the product, once we base policy and build matrix, we have a process that has to be explained, taught, shared, right? Then we have people who have to be trained, capable, available, healthy, good mindset to to participate in the process, to produce the product. Then you have the facilities that we operate in that have to be present with all the requirements that they have. Then it has to be secured and protected through a perimeter so we're not robbed. Don't grow a crop if you can't protect it. You have to protect everything you produce. Otherwise, you're going to be raided by savage, barbaric, whatever it is, whether it's federals or starving people or whatever. And all of that has to be underpinned by a community policy and common philosophy. Does that mean religious? No. Can we just boil it down to truth, justice, freedom, free markets? Do we cooperate together and have goodwill towards one another? Love your neighbor? Is it that tough, really? If we get enough people who are non-psycho people together, we can do this. Then there has to be a mechanism for awareness training and hopefully spiritual development, back to the modeling our communities and respecting and looking up to people who have served their communities and the people around them and have been a benefit to human civilization. That's who we need to look up to. So that comes through spiritual development, not monetary amassing of fortunes, showing that you're a Jabba the Hutt like gangster that just hogs everything and starves everybody out. That's not positive,
Yeah,
and we don't
they
invite
just
that to our
wanna
communities.
they just wanna buy a bigger TV or a second car or bigger
A bigger
boat and
TV
new
to sit on your
planes.
ass and do nothing and watch other people live their lives and experience joy and all the emotional things that you as human beings, your birthright, you're here to experience these things. Instead, we sit down in front of televisions and we experience those feelings vicariously by illusions created by the illusionists to keep us on the couch from actually experiencing life, living, and having a beautiful experience on this planet in this realm, because this is a temporal environment. It is
So
not
Ryan,
permanent.
what do you suggest about the carrying gun? Because in America, most people have guns,
I'm
and
100% pro-gun. I believe in peace, but not pacifism. If we are attacked, you shoot back. You don't allow people to abuse you. If you have God indwelling within you, and we all do, you need to protect it like God indwells within you, and you need to protect your community and your children from these absolute vampiric monsters that are now preying on children and injecting them with mRNA toxicity. It's insanity.
well,
We need to protect, and if
when
that
we
means,
look at
I would say, the West was a great model. Everybody should be armed. You'd have a lot of security. The highest armed state at one point, and I'm going back a few years, was Vermont, had the lowest murder rate. Switzerland requires every citizen to have a gun and a rifle, lowest murder rate. Armed civilizations are safe civilizations. As soon as you make guns and weaponry illegal, what happens is only the bad guys have it, and all the good people who follow the rules get victimized. And so if you don't punish the guilty, you're punishing the innocent. So that law and order, and what I don't mean law as in a bunch of jackbooted thugs kicking people's doors in at 4 in the morning. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about justice, real justice, and a new model. And that comes from our sheriffs, not our existing structure. So
well, at
anyway,
the
then we go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry, I keep
So
interrupting you.
it's
You
okay.
finish your PowerPoint.
Then we have, again, there has to be a commerce. We have to have a mechanism to exchange the products we produce and get what we can for them. And then there has to be a communication section where we communicate an idea with others and we maintain a response. Anytime we're slandered or anything like that, we have to respond. We have to put out our side of things because people's opinions are very fickle and malleable. And if we get tainted by something or they launch some kind of propaganda war on us like they did on Alex Jones, there has to be a response mechanism. So we have to have structured communication, as well as communicating and affiliating with partners. So partnership affiliations are critical, again, because we want to build a complex system, not a simple one. So this brings us to how systems work. And again, there are hierarchical systems, which are top-down management. And basically the idea is that it pulls energy from its base, right? So the people doing the most are at the bottom, and the top is the management, the neuron type, and it's moving the system in a particular way in an orderly format. The methods used to manage light hierarchy, so there is a positive use of this on a micro level. Now, I believe in total decentralization, but we still exist in a structure where everybody is not godlike and enlightened and have brilliance. We need a structure where the people who have the expertise are making decisions within those realms, and it's not the opinion of the masses, if you will, in the way that if we need to know about plumbing, we ask a plumber. If we need to know about carpentry, we use a carpenter. So everybody's opinion counts, but we still need to have an actual coherent plan and structure. So that just means we need some kind of a council-based structure where there is still a place for decisions to be made that need to be made. So how do we run a light hierarchy, a positive structure? Motivation and encouragement, transparency, discipline and effort, common goals and objectives, security, and actually key concepts for management, redundancy. That's why you can't have a single point of corruption. Otherwise, that person will be whatever, targeted, and your organization will go destroyed. Contingency planning, continuity of systems, monitoring, and prediction as well. So again, I have solutions for all of these things. These are just headings right now, but I can explain, when I'm discussing in more detail how systems work. These are all very important for ensuring the integrity and longevity of the system. So here we're looking at, again, just the personal travel. The individual participating has physiological needs, basic services, shelter, sanitation, nutrition, basic safety needs, social, urban security, access to work, healthcare facilities, community inclusion, love and belonging. So that's why we build community. We have to belong somewhere. And it's not about race, it's about, or color, it's about class and values. And then and anyway,
knowledge where the scientists are in front rather than politicians.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So what we have now is a circus, a sideshow, where democracy elects the most popular clown, and that clown dances onto the stage being controlled by a puppeteer. And then there's another clown dancing over here, controlled by the same puppet master with the same strings of control. And it's kabuki theater, as they say.
Paid by a big pharma.
Fooled over and over again, and it's like we don't learn.
Politicians who are paid by big pharma, government
bankers, politicians, secret organizations, Octagon, whatever you want to say. There are people up there that use politicians as disposable toilet paper and will let them take the fall for their crimes. And all the while they're just dancing on a string, right? So, I mean, so anyway, then ultimately, self-esteem, awareness. So again, self-respect. We need to remind and teach people again how to have self-respect. People without self-respect, they bow down to authoritarian governments because internally they hate themselves, self-loathing. So we have to build self-loving people who love themselves, love their community enough to stand up and say no to psychopaths, which are clear. It's like they're unveiled now. They're just straight up psychos.
The governments are your servants. The governments and politicians are your servants.
They're supposed to be, and when they break laws, it should be a far more severe penalty on politicians, not less. Exactly. You misuse the public trust. That is a huge violation and should be a huge penalty within any structure, not the opposite.
Public money too.
Everything. You catch a senator with 3 hookers in his trunk, and they say national security, and that's okay. That's all. Well, that's why we're here. So then analysis, we have resources. So when we look at our structure, because we have to look at each product, okay? I just want to give a lens through which we look at systems and projects. We have to look at what resources are available. People, staff, HR, partners. We have to look at the air, water, heating, cooling. We have to look at the availability of power and the stability of that. We have to look at inventory. Do we have what we need to produce products? We have to have, a product. We have to have resources. Right now, that's money. Ideally, that'll be other things in the future, but right now it is money. We need materials, assets, all products of other systems. So when all of these things, we have these dependencies of a complex system where one system depends on another, which is why right now we're being attacked on all our dependencies. The railroads, the borders, the water, the food, the rules, the rights, the security, the this, the that. So we're being attacked and choked out on all our dependencies. So we have to understand that when we build systems and create a new model. So, and from that, security is key. If we don't have security, we don't have anything. If we could be infiltrated, attacked, poisoned, this and that, then it's all a waste of time. So security and security mindedness is key. That includes data, software, hardware, physical security, digital security, perimeter security, both digital and physical, internal, external communications, and so we're not spied on in everything that happens. Secrecy, and again, secrecy leads to vulnerabilities as well, but we want to maintain certain things secret so we don't create vulnerabilities. So not to have a secrecy model, I despise that. But you know, at certain levels, everybody doesn't know the combination to the safe. You understand? We have to conduct regular risk analysis from people like me who understand systems and can analyze something and tell you, oh, you're weak here, 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 and here, and then you can go about correcting them in your own structure. We have to have response plans. If you don't know what to do when the shit hits the fan, then again, you're just going to be fumbling around at the wrong time when it's most important learning your lessons. Well, when you have a response plan, you at least have a document to go to. If there's a fire, what do I do? If there's a frickin' train derailment and the government sprays me with dioxin and phosgene, chemical weapons again, what am I going to do then? And what are the tests I need to have to make a move? And what are the thresholds? These things can be easily built and are not complex for people who do this for a living. And then there has to be continuity plans. So, okay, now my farm was burnt out by whatever dew weapon from the psychos.
Ryan,
What do
how
I do
many
with my
more slides
community?
you got?
It's almost done. It's almost done. So just moving right through it, it's important to focus on what it's not, because people say, well, I don't want this and I don't want that. So let's say, what is it not? It's not a cult. It's not a tyranny. It's certainly not a sex cult. And sexual impropriety is one of the leading ways to destroy these types of initiatives. So the people I know that run these communities, I have one up here. If you have people trying to screw each other's significant other when the other's out in the field working, or people screwing in the fields, you're going to get chaos, and that's what the hippies screwed up. It's not a tyranny. It's not a crack house. It's not a violent organization. It is not anti-human or anti-life. So all those values I utterly reject. I do not support any anti-human or anti-life anything, and I won't participate in anything that does. That includes GMO and all this crap, and anything that terminates, damages, mutates human or natural life. It's not a flop house community. You're not invited there, or you're not going to participate and sit on your ass, play video games, and watch TV. That's not what this is about. You want to go on vacation back to the rest of the world to do that, fine. But in our communities, they're focus oriented. A place to accommodate dregs or violent felons. So anybody who's been sexual violence, perverts of that nature, not interested, keep walking. Not
Yeah,
a gang,
we
not
don't want
interested in anybody like that.
homosexuals. We don't want
Well,
homosexuals, drug addicts. We don't want
we don't
felons.
want definitely pedophiles or any kind of sex offender, anybody, regardless
We
of
will check
orientation,
you
that does
before
any
you
of that.
become a member.
Total, yes, and background checks may be necessary. It's not a prison, it's not a free ride, and it's not false opposition. We're legit. This is a genuine human attempt to insulate us against the tyranny we're facing. So what is it? It's a family-friendly cooperative, working together, sharing and conducting commerce, a community, a fellowship of like-minded, positive human beings, a school to research and develop higher technology and levels of consciousness, a survival group to insulate and defend against the New World Order onslaught, a management group, a social organization, fraternity of positive individuals who bear reverence for the divine virtues and natural creation. That's what we're about. So if you share those values, we have a plan where we can do something with it. So what participants get, so you get a chance to rewrite the future script for our species. It's a typo for our species. Again, there is an existing plan of transhumanism and total tyranny in our future. And if we don't create an alternative script, then we're going to be sucked into that one. And if you don't get that, like, you need to do some research. Free access to NHM events, free access to online courseware, free access to survival guides and material generated by the NHM. As I mentioned, there's going to be some big names that are participating and sharing information, like, as Saeed mentioned, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, but many others. And they will be sharing material and assisting. So you're going to have access to neurons who have been thinking and working and researching in these areas that can have a solution and a plan for you if you want to, in whatever structure you want to follow.
Also come to our events, Biomed Expo
And that's right, you get free
BIOMED.
access, and we're also looking at ways to compensate people who bring full paying attendees. So we're gonna, once you join, we're gonna send out an introductory letter, and we're gonna have some more of that detailed information. So access to special offers for products and services for our communities and groups worldwide, free access to Biomedical Expo events. So again, we need a commercial side of this where people with products and services can share and give a discount for being part of the NHM. So we would encourage that of people who join us with a product to sell to offer a discount to those within the community. Opportunities to live and grow in communities of choice that will be located in various locations, both on the continental US and potentially globally, in person and online virtual assistance and training by leaders, sub-leaders and project managers, monthly newsletters with the latest news and events relating to our members and anybody related to the cause of human freedom and development, a place to belong where the higher qualities of humanity are cultivated and shared as it was always meant to be. Together we're strong, folks. That's just the truth of it.
So
It doesn't change what you do, as Schwab says, it changes who you are. So again, we're going to be still the same productive people. We're still going to be the same loving, happy, functional people working together, but it will change where we live. And often, again, it's just going to be one of the realities of it, but it doesn't have to. So it's really up to you how much or how little you participate.
And those of you who cannot move or create communities, you can still be involved with your connection with us and coming to our events. Biomed Expo, biomedexpo.com, biomedexpo.com. Our next event in Las Vegas, 4 days in September 14 to 17. Go and get your tickets or stream live online. Worldwide audience can watch us and follow us. We will have more broadcasting and more videos and Zoom calls and you name it, and gatherings and events around the world. So as we go along, we need people donate land, money, and become member of our organization, New Humanity Movement, newhumanitymovement.com, and join us, move the future to a better direction. And so, by the way,
and
Ryan,
folks, let me just add that owning real estate right now is one of the best ways to protect your assets. So if you have money sitting around, they're collapsing the banks. They're going to flip this into a CBDC system. So, protect that wealth if you have it. Just as my 2 cents, not a financial advisor, but it doesn't take a genius to look at the amounts of withdrawals that have reached historic levels from the big banks right now and to see where that leads. So
Ryan, you have a phone number on the bottom that is missing the last digit. The last digit is 01290. So 890-1290.
Okay, got it. I'll mention that at the end. Sorry about that. So again, we looked at a model for participation that was simple, cheap, and pretty much everybody could do. It's $1 a day. So if you can't come up with $1 a day to try and salvage humanity, well, what can we say? It's not that much money. Pretty much anybody can do it.
You can
$30 a month, right? $1 a day. And we'll use that money. Nobody's taking a salary. We're putting this money back into development. What we're doing is we're building the structure and we're going to get more content out to you to support you, but that doesn't happen without cash. And when Saeed has these events and runs these very important events that should be more attended than I've seen, we need to just expand. So all of our members, if you can get the message out there, you can bring more people, you can get more participation. We're going to be putting out a more concerted communications effort. We're going to be putting out more material. We're going to be putting out more videos from people who are committed to making this work and who are committed to, building a better humanity future.
Yeah,
so membership is used.
This is a global call. People in Europe, Africa, Middle East, or wherever, we are inviting you to join us. No matter what country you're in.
And if you have problems that you need solved, I don't imagine a lot of people in Africa, frankly, are listening to us right now, but should you be in Africa and you need solutions for water filtration or this or that, and there is people who are, again, highly intelligent and capable individuals in our organization that have the skill set to assist, then that's exactly what we can do. We could start matching problem solvers with problems and create what are called solution groups to address different issues. And that's part of being a member. Is once you're a member, you don't have to be a member to participate in this part, but helping us identify problems and then letting us find solutions feasible.
Go ahead. We are looking for scientists, leaders, sub-leaders, project managers all around the world and in different cities to join us, suddenly broadcast this movement to different communities and groups. So we all join together and build something together. So
Right.
each one of you guys are responsible to put this thing together. I made it as a founder. Ryan is one of our leaders, and we are hiring more people. So join us and push the envelope forward for yourself, your family, and the rest of humanity. Do not sit back and watch and listen. Just anticipate and be in a project to build a better humanity, better
Right.
community for yourself and others.
And ask yourself, folks, if not now, when? If all the things going on around you right now, don't light a candle under your ass to actually participate and get off the bench to support all of human civilization, then when? What'll it take? So the website is listed there. The information, as Saeed mentioned, on the final phone number, 1702-890-1290. There is a character missing, typo there. And that's it. But I think one more thing here, or a few more things. We're almost through. So this was from our founder, David Farman. And this is his quote. So, New Humanity Movement consists of a global group of awakened, humanitarian, peace-loving humans who believe in a new earth with common goals for a totally different future outcome. Our movement is currently rewriting a new future in a positive direction for mankind by bringing forward new ideas and ways of living in harmony and peace with a universal code of ethics and standards. New Humanity Movement is a global initiative and no one with no borders and looks at humanity as one entity. Members discuss, share research, and implement new possibilities in science, technology, health, healing, ET contact, space exploration, spiritual expansion and transformation of consciousness, permaculture, and how to create a new path for humanity with global peace, freedom, free energy, free speech, moving away from current banking systems, geo engineering, GM food industrialization, mind control, spying systems, militarization, secret societies, nuclearization of the planet, warmongering strategies, and the enslavement of the masses. Purpose of the New Humanity Movement is to help assist our whole planet to shift into a higher state of consciousness and awareness. Beautifully said, with a few typos there, David, but we'll fix that. And that is the message from our founder, and that's why David kicked this off, and that's why I'm standing beside him and behind him to help him make this work.
This is
So,
like writing a human rights manifesto and for the future of humanity. And it will apply to everybody on this planet and other planets. This is universal cosmic law. And once we all join in a different, from different
hermetic
factions.
truths, hermetic
Exactly.
truths. So the code of ethics, just starting off, this is not the full thing. Again, there was a bit of a time constraint, but I thought this would start it out pretty nicely. So as a member of the New Humanity Movement, I do solemnly swear to uphold the values espoused therein of positive thoughts and actions in service to the divine creator, humanity, and the planet, in the spirit of truth, justice, freedom, and the divine right to pursue happiness, enlightenment, and to protect natural life. I reject all anti-human ideologies of unwarranted death and destruction and renounce the 7 deadly sins, instead choosing of my own free will the 7 divine virtues. To these ends, I pledge my service. There you go. So if you can agree
Amen.
with that, basically be a good person. Don't be a shit. And let's build. Let's survive. Is it that hard? Is it that hard? So
Exactly.
how do we get there? We have to identify, as Saeed said, land, location, and I have to consider all the different water, soil, energy, security, zoning, the political situations that run by lunatics, risk. You have to look at the law, the quality, the chain of command. If you have a George Soros DA there, you're going to be screwed. They'll come for you. You have to look at people available there, human resources. You have to look at and develop a plan, a method, and a technology that's going to be used. We have to evaluate product output. We have to look at what the input, the money, the resources that are required. And for the execution, we have to create what are called solution teams, create solutions and solve problems based on skills and requirements. So we may have one group that's good at standing up an organization. We have another group that's good at running it. So action teams put plans into action to accomplish organizational goals on the ground. And then the maintenance group. So again, the action team is the doing, the plans, that's the on the ground. And then the maintenance group, this is the day-to-day full-time operational members. So we may have, let's say, a model, you have a solution group come up with a plan, you have the action team implement it, and then you have the maintenance group take it in the relay race, hands it off to the maintenance people,
And
and then these
eventually,
teams move
Ryan,
on to the next one. Yeah.
eventually, Ryan, we will have city leaders, town leaders, community leaders, project managers, and then country leaders and different
Right.
nations, all with leaderships who will
Right.
communicate with each other.
And where this all comes from is my adaptation of our enemies' techniques and strategies and flipping it to the good. So like anything, you could use it in a positive or negative. So I'm using the same intelligence and strategic thinking behind the way they operate and control the control system to create a opposing system and a structure. And this is how it works. So, and again, and we're solving the issues. We're not having a top-down centralized control, tyranny, cult, whatever, not
And
that.
we're not fighting any governments.
And we're not fighting anybody.
We're a very
This is
peaceful
simply a new
group.
model. Right. Very important, because if you even suggest violence, they'll burn you down. So who is involved? And again, so here are some of the names that have agreed. Now, I just had, so Saeed David Farman, of course, myself, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Dr. Raul Valverde, Dr. Sean David Morton. George Wiseman has volunteered to support. Now, he just wants to know more about the movement before he commits. And there are some more other people that I have not asked them for their permission to use
Yeah,
their
and many
name
other
yet.
people
But
looking
George
at it,
Wiseman, yeah,
and people
George
joining
Wiseman
us. Yeah.
does HHO, Brown's gas. And this technology, again, there's many people doing it, but George's stuff I like a lot. Brilliant guy. And that's the type of technology we're talking about. So this is how we need to build. We
Yeah, we
can't
just
build with
started
the same
this
building
and we
blocks.
builded it. So as we
Right.
speak, we broadcast in this first time to everybody out there to join us, and
Right.
let's move it forward,
Right. So that's it. And again, Gandhi said, every worthwhile accomplishment, big or little, has its stages of drudgery and triumph, a beginning, a struggle, and a victory. And our plight is no different. And there is going to be a time of challenging, the time to build, and then a time to reap those rewards. And if we do nothing, we will reap the results of doing nothing as well, and you won't like it. So dedication, again, I'm a great fan of Thoth and the Hermetic values. So that's my source of inspiration. So that's it. That's all. And David, throwing it back to you, sir.
Well, we thank you giving us time and all the great talk today, and it's been a pleasure. If I can change the view to gallery, and with talking with you and all the audience who join us and they would watch this later on. We love you all, and just broadcast and invite people and join us yourself and be a member of the movement and talk about this movement and the new ideas we talked about today with other social media, all the radios and TVs and communities you have. And do not hesitate even one day to move forward and change things. This is a time of conception of new humanity, and you are the one who will do it. And I just put the heart and the idea, and Ryan is a leader, one of our leaders, and we hiring more leaders and members and project managers and sub leaders worldwide. This is a international movement, and be part of it. Once again, go to newhumanitymovement.com and sign up the forums and join us. And doesn't matter who you are, as long as you have some expertise you can bring to the table, you're the person who should be with us. So build a future, build something real, not the fake stuff like they did. So all the past 30 years, they build fake education, fake books, and fake medicine, and fake food, and fake this and that. So let's change everything to real stuff for the future generation. Let's change the world under one community and one movement worldwide. We are the
Brotherhood of humanity.
yeah, we are the new kind of new breed of genetics that we will change everything to our benefits, not to our demise. So God bless all of you guys, and write to us and call us, whatever you want to do, create events, help us with events around the world. We will be there. Ryan or myself in US, especially in US, in different cities. And we plan to have number of different events around the United States and Canada. Ryan want to do an event in Montreal, Canada, and a number of other cities other than Las Vegas, Los Angeles. And we're doing the events, biomedexpo.com, BIOMED,
Right. Actually, anybody
EXPO.com.
interested in participating in a Montreal event, that would be great. If you want to contact me for that, use some assistance on that.
Yeah, you can write to us about Montreal event. Within 3 to 6 months, we will organize that. And we need funding. Donate to us. A lot of money sitting out there in wrong hands and in bank accounts, useless, which they can be beneficial for humanity and projects we have to spread out to help others. And charities, we want to create universities. There's a number of projects we want to do. Without money and your help, we are not able to do that. So and money is not the solution. Your energy, your own self, your own talk and efforts and writings and broadcastings and your hand to build, like Ryan said. Let's build things and build our own architecture, build our own whatever you name it, and
build away from them.
Exactly, for God's sake. Yeah, build ergonomic architecture. You go inside a building, you feel good, not sick and tired.
So that's biogeometry, Dr. Ibrahim Karim. Again, I haven't contacted him yet, but he is a friend, and I would love to get his assistance in architectural design for anything you create. And I think you had Skoda is one of his students, excellent lady,
Yeah.
Architect involved in one of your conferences. This is all very legitimate.
Make the food industry your own, create your own foods, build your
And there
own
are
fabric.
techniques to make that easier. So a lot of people find growing food difficult. Well, when you have the right tools and you have the right knowledge, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
So yes, chemical farming is tough. Yes, nature can be tricky.
Making our own fabric, making our own, everything, water systems and better waters around the world, and you name it. There's so much stuff you can do. Making alternative medicine and healing devices and technology that will benefit us, like med beds and a number of scalar wave energies, and bring quantum energy, Tesla, all the Tesla energies that there's so many researchers, they have them, and they need so much stuff to bring them out other than money. So let's do all these projects.
It would be great if we could manufacture items and products that are great. So there's nothing stopping us from being a node for creating positive products, period.
Whether, we need top guns, we need leaders and scientists, we need industry leaders, corporate owners that they think out of the box and new alternatives and a better future. Those kind of people, they should join us. And we are looking for all of you to show your hand and join us in wonderful future. Make the future wonderful, not the miserable pictures they're showing us. So let's go forward.
Eating bugs and living in 15-minute prisons with social credit scores connected to
and a lot of fears.
Totalitarian governments with
centralized control. This planet was not
control.
built on fears. And they're creating a lot of fears. This planet was not built on fears of wars, famine, and God, the creator.
And we're ending it exactly how we started. You told me not to scare the people, Saeed. Now there's the solutions. You got it, brother.
Yeah, we got all the
Let's
solutions.
Put an amen on that.
Yeah, let's bring them forward. And every one of you are responsible for what you heard to bring to the table and change the things around, even in your own society, your own city, in your own community, your own family. Start at your own house with your own kids. So let's do things. Let's do things. That's it.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you,
Thank you,
and
Saeed.
thank you all of you. And this is the end of recording. We will join you again and more recording in the future. And contact us. Thank you so much, everybody.